Hello everyone, for OneWrestling.com. This is Bill Apter, and welcome to Face at the Apter Chat. And my guest right now, well, he's the best in the world, but we have no clue at what. So, sir, perhaps you can tell us?
Best in the world at figuring out how to use Skype, Bill. I'm actually very excited that this is working. Whenever Skype works, I feel like a little bit of a personal victory.
This is incredible. And you're Skyping on your phone.
I am. Yeah, I guess I could have done it on my computer, but I haven't ever figured that out yet, so I'll just do it on my phone and leave it at that.
So I wanted to start off today. It's October 20th, 2014, and you've been in the business for a long, long time. So this morning I awoke to an email and several tweets about Ox Baker passing away. And since this is fresh in the news, do you have any Ox Baker stories? How well did you know him?
No, I never met him. Yeah,
really?
The old-time guys that I never met. So
wow.
Kind of a few generations before me. So I never had any Ox Baker experiences, nor have I ever seen any Ox Baker matches, I don't think. Growing up in Canada, he was never around there. So didn't have much of a connection to him other than just knowing of his legacy and his legendary status in a lot of ways. So always sad to hear one of the brothers, whether you know him or not, passing away. But I think he had a pretty good run. Yeah,
he really, really did. Well, you probably saw pictures of him in the old wrestling magazines.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
yes,
absolutely.
Now, by the way, I read someplace recently that you said you're not from Long Island, yet all your bios have you from Manhasset and the Miracle Mile.
Well, I mean, I was born there, right? But I mean, just because I was born there, it's funny because people go, Jericho, you're from Long Island. I'm like, not really. I mean, maybe 3 or 4 winters when I was a kid during hockey season. I don't remember where I lived. I'm not sure what hospital I was born in.
I do probably Willis. I think it's Willis Hospital in Mineola.
I just remember my babysitter was Mrs. Beckman. So there you go. That's what I remember. For the Beckman family in Manhasset, Long Island, thumbs up from Jericho.
We are going to get in touch with them and.
Well, I'm sure Mrs. Beckman probably passed away years ago, but her son's name was Georgie, so maybe Georgie's around.
We're going to find him. How do you spell it? Beckman?
I guess.
Okay, we're going to figure that out.
There's your mission, Wonderful Willie. Go out there and find the Beckman.
I've got it. Wonderful Willie is always on the go here. So what I wanted to talk to you about, perhaps one of the greatest championships in the world of sports entertainment, pro wrestling, is... the Triple Crown, and you now have the Triple Crown of books.
I do.
You do.
It's a trilogy, man. Yeah, I just released the third in my trilogy of autobiographies. Nixon has 1, but I have 3. So I don't know how that exactly worked.
Wow.
But yeah, it's the Return of the Jedi of my books for sure. The third in the trilogy.
So tell us how this book differs from the first 2.
I love when people ask me that question because it differs. There's different.
That's
stories.
why I asked.
Yeah, there's different stories in it. Like, it's different because it's from 2007 to 2013. It picks up right where Undisputed left off. And if you like the first 2 books, you'll like this one because it's just the continuation of my adventures in wrestling and music. This one deals with Dancing with the Stars and being knocked out by Mike Tyson and having Mickey Rourke hire mercenaries to beat me up and getting stranded in an unsecure war zone in Iraq, which means that there may or may not have been Taliban snipers in the area. So when I got offered the opportunity to do a 3rd book, I was like, do I really need a 3rd one? What am I going to write about? And then when I started putting the pen to paper, I realized that I had a lot to write about, especially in the wrestling side of things with my feud with Shawn Michaels in 2008 and the whole creation of that character, kind of the suit and tie wearing, the hypocrite Jericho.
Yeah.
That was the most hated heel in the business, to the point I was getting attacked in parking lots by fans, and
I know that.
Lots of different things like that, where it went beyond just a normal heel. This was a real deal, something that even though people knew wrestling was a show, they hated me. They thought I was real and wanted to assault me as a result of it.
Well, that shows the crossover, because when I was a little kid and I saw these some of the bad guys come out, I was convinced how evil these guys were, and I couldn't wait for them to come out and boo them. And there's very few guys in the business this day, and you're a young veteran of pro wrestling, sports entertainment, but to make fans go like, this might be a show, but that's not. I mean, what type of work did you put in that, or did you just go in and, this is how you've always been?
No, this was different. I really dropped into it. I'd taken some method acting classes when I was off from the WWE from '05 to '07 and learned how to really drop into a character. And how
Stanislavski?
really, that sort of stuff, yeah. Sort of the Stanislavski type stuff and Strasberg type
Lee Strasberg.
Yeah. And when I came back to the WWE, I was doing like kind of an offshoot of the Y2J character. It was stagnant, it was stale, it was from another time, another place, and it wasn't really working. So I knew that I had to kind of reinvent myself. And I had just seen the movie No Country for Old Men, where Javier Bardem played Anton Chigurh, won an Oscar for it, like this very calm, matter-of-fact type of a villain who wasn't psycho, wasn't yelling and screaming. He was just telling you what was going to happen to you in a very, calm and cool voice.
Yes.
I'd also just seen WWE had released a documentary on the AWA. He kind of became reacquainted with Nick Bockwinkel. And combine those two characters, suit and tie wearing guy, speaking big words over the top of the audience's heads, which they hate, but also having this real quiet demeanor, very direct. And I can remember when I first started doing it, people in the front row yelling, "Speak louder, we can't hear you, talk into the mic." But that's what I wanted. I want people to have to shut up and really pay attention to this guy. And stripped away everything that people liked about Y2J. No more Y2J, no highlight reel, no countdown clock. Everything was different. Switched from tights to trunks. Brand new. Letting people know I'm not messing around with this. This is different. And when that happened, and then combined with the perfect storm of the Shawn Michaels feud in 2008, which was one of the greatest feuds that I've ever had, if not one of the greatest feuds in WWE history.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, you had the perfect babyface and the perfect heel and the perfect storyline, and it just created this this perfect storm of a character that people really connected with in the worst possible way. They wanted to see me, destroyed, and actually tried to do it themselves at times. And I don't know if you could ever do that again in this day and age. Things have really changed, even though it was only 5 years ago.
Yeah, but you and Shawn Michaels together brought each other to the brink. You both made each other better. Both of you had been around for quite a while in the business, and people always wonder, are they going to be as good as they were at a certain point? And just a chance of You Still Got It should have told you that.
When I came back in 2013, I got the chance of You Still Got It. My response was, I never lost it.
Yeah,
I've never ever felt that any time in my career, even this last run I did with Bray Wyatt, that I haven't been wrestling at the peak of my abilities and have the ability to steal the show on any given night. And the last match I had at Night of Champions with Randy Orton, we had the best match on the show. So
it was incredible.
As long as I can still feel that way, I'll come back and wrestle from time to time. My days of being a full-time WWE performer are gone. It's all based around, the Fozzy tours and all the other stuff that I have. But I still enjoy coming back, and I do it because I like it, not because I have to, because I want to. And there's a big difference there. So the moment, Bill, and I'm telling you, the moment I feel that I'm 10% less than my best, I won't do it anymore. I don't ever want to be that guy who's just there hanging on.
And
I think I've kind of proved that I'm not at this point.
No, and also there's an element here where, when guys stay too long, the fans tire of them. To come back with a fresh new look like you did, fresh new character, etc. It just it's incredible.
You have to. I mean, I always, it's kind of a funny analogy, but I always consider myself to be like the Madonna of wrestling. And what I mean by that, Undertaker was like that too, in that it constantly updated and changed your character, your gimmick, your sound, but it's still you. And like I said, had I not made this radical change in 2008 or early 2008, I don't think I'd be talking to you right now. I don't think I ever would have reached the heights that I reached when I became that character of this really evil Chris Jericho. And that's I won the Wrestling Observer newsletter Wrestler of the Year 2 years in a row, and that's not an easy feat.
Nope.
I won the WWE World Championship 3 times. I hadn't won it since 2001, and then had this big break where it's kind of like, well, Jericho's done, and then in 2008 comes back and wins it in 08, 09, and in 2010. So there was a lot of longevity in that character, in that heel character, and a lot of accolades and rewards as a result. So
Is that around the time period? Is that around the time period you managed Wade Barrett?
Yeah, that was
before?
around the
Yeah.
time when the first NXT started. I think that was towards the end of that character when it was kind of at its outset. But that was a good example too, kind of being in there with Wade. And I knew he was going to win that thing before it even started because I could just tell from his demeanor and his experience and his look, and the fact he was with me didn't hurt either. But
Not at all.
that was a really good time for me as far as really coming into my own. And if you ask me what were my best years, I'd say 2008, 2009.
I was just going to ask you that.
Yeah.
What was your favorite incarnation of Chris Jericho in any form? What was that?
Yeah,
the one?
it was definitely that incarnation. The like I say, the suit and tie. Sorry, I have to grab my plug-in here. I'm running out of power. The suit and tie Jericho was the best because up until then, I didn't think I'd ever really lived up to the potential that I thought I had as a performer.
Really?
And that's 18 years in, Bill.
Right.
It took me. Sorry.
You're sinking.
That was 18 years in of experience before I really came into my own. That's why I laugh sometimes when people like talk about the new WWE and how, well, guys are different. They don't have as much experience and characters are different. Well, it took me 18 years to lock into the best work of my career.
Yeah.
There's nobody in the WWE that's even been there 18 years now, with the exception of maybe Goldust and Big Show. So it does take a while sometimes for you to lock into this character and to become the best you can be. And when you do get that, like once I got to that point, then I was unstoppable. And I had moments of it in the 18 years before, but that was the character where it really clicked for me. And that's why I can still go back even now in 2014, work with anybody and have the best match on the show, or at least be in contest for the best match of the show, because I know exactly what I'm doing now at this point. Whereas before, I had inklings of it, but really locked in 2008.
Yeah. Now, tell us the quote unquote new WWE. A lot of guys talk to me about it, and they say it's a whole different element, whole different business at this point. Do you see something fresh and new now with the WWE?
Absolutely. I mean, it's always been a talent-driven business, as you know, Bill, and
Sure.
you're always going to go through cycles. And as much as the WWE wants to make everything homegrown and in-house with NXT, and it's working, you still can't replace international experience, outside experience, because you're learning different styles of work and you're learning life lessons. You're learning how to get over. I knew Daniel Bryan would get over in the WWE because he'd been over his whole career. And you can say, oh, I was in a bingo hall or whatever. It doesn't matter. A bingo hall is still a bingo hall.
Yeah.
And to be the most over guy in that bingo hall means something because it's not easy to do. So that's why I'm glad that they have Rollins and Cesaro and Ambrose and all these type of guys that are coming into the business, coming into their own. They came from different areas in different countries. That's Sami Zayn and Neville. Kenta.
They're fantastic. I mean,
yeah, they're great, and they're going to be Finn Balor, aka Prince Devitt, and I can't remember what they're calling Kenta now. Hideo Itami, maybe.
I think so. I think so.
Yeah, they're going to come in and they're going to kick some ass because they have international experience and know how to get over. Now, will they get over as big as they have in the past? That's all depends on what kind of personalities they have. But as far as work rate goes, they're going to come in there and offer a whole new style that no one's ever seen before, and people like that. They like
absolutely.
diversity and they like versatility, and that's why the guys from my generation made such a big mark when we finally started getting into the States in the mid-'90s. Benoit, Guerrero, Malenko, Mysterio, all those type of guys. They had worked around the world, and when they finally got into the national platform, we were all ready to show you we know how to get over no matter what we get. And once you get to that point, then you can really become a superstar.
Absolutely. By the way, some of the research I was doing, just little known facts that people might know about you. You are, I think, one of the only guys that was managed by two of the women in Triple H's life, Chyna back then and Stephanie McMahon afterwards. You want to talk about that?
Well, yeah, I mean, you pretty much just summed it up, man. Maybe that's why we had so much heat back when I was first starting, that I was working with all his women. But yeah, the first, being managed by Chyna was definitely not a highlight of my career. And nothing against her. I just didn't like it. I didn't like the mix of it. I didn't like the chemistry of it. I didn't like the reasons for it. I think it was a little bit of a rib on me from Vince. But once again, you take what you're given and do the best you can to rise above it and get to the next level. And then working with Stephanie as an opponent of her, I think our verbal jousting was some of the best of all time. When we were allies, I don't think it went as far as it could have gone because I had some other ideas that I think would have made it a much better. Instead, I was almost kind of like her lackey, and it never really worked as well as it would have been as if I was her if I was her lover. You know, if she had been cheating on Triple H with me the whole time he was gone rehabbing his quad, that would have been a whole different level. But nobody seemed to like that idea.
That would have been a hell of an angle.
You pitch ideas, and some of them they like, some of them they don't, and you do the best you can with what you're given, like I said.
Before a couple more questions before I let you go, the Vince McMahon that you first met and first worked for, and the Vince McMahon who's there currently today, Vince versus Vince, what's the difference?
To me, there isn't really much. I mean, I talk a lot in The Best in the World at What I Have No Idea, the third book that just was released, about the trials and tribulations I had with Vince. I mean, I've had some huge arguments with him from, you know, when I got the gig hosting Downfall for ABC. He forbid me to do it. I said I was doing it anyways. We almost got in a fight. You know, I said, I'm going to come to Connecticut. I'm going to kick your ass. He said, I'll give you my address and I'll buy you a plane ticket. You know, so, you know, when I got suspended for kicking the flag in Brazil, he was not happy with me and yelling and screaming and arguing. I hate you and you're a son of a bitch. But yet when I got in the fight with the fans in the parking lot, and that video made it on a Nancy Grace where I was public enemy #1 and this guy must be strung up and destroyed, the whole company was angry at me except for Vince. He had my back. Or when there was the riot of the glow sticks in London at O2 Arena, when someone hit me with a glow stick, and I said, you know, you want to throw something, go ahead and throw it. And people were literally throwing hundreds of glow sticks at me that they paid 20 pounds each for. You can go on YouTube and see this blizzard of glow sticks. Once again, the company wanted to fine me and wanted me punished, and Vince had my back on that too. So there's a real you can't even say love-hate. I mean, there's a real respect and a trust where I'm not afraid to tell him what I think, and he needs that from me.
Oh, he likes that.
Yes, he does. He's surrounded by yes men,
yeah,
and it takes a while to gain that trust, but once you gain it, he likes it and he expects it and he needs it. So to me, the Vince is always the same as he's been. Obviously, he's let go some of the responsibilities and let go some of the reins, but don't kid yourself. He's still in charge of making all the final decisions. And even a Triple H will say, yeah, that sounds great. I just got to run it past Vince. He still is in control. He just lets some other people do some of the busy work that he used to do before. But when it comes to me, I still go talk to Vince. If I have an issue or a question, I don't let the producers go ask him, or I don't go ask Triple H. I go ask Vince because I know it goes through him anyways. I have to. And he says to me, if something doesn't work out, or I have a question that I don't go see him about, he's like, why didn't you come see me? I thought you were busy. Bullshit.
Yeah.
I'm never too busy for Chris Jericho. You need to come talk to me if you ever have any question, no matter how big, how small. And I take him up on it. And every time he sees me, he's like, oh, my God, what do you want to do now? But it's like, that's the relationship we have. And as weird as it is for me to do my deals and my business through Triple H, at the end of the day, Vince is still the boss for all of us, and will be, I believe, Bill, until the day he dies. And I think you know that's the case.
Absolutely. When you talk about busy and taking time out, one thing I wanted to tell you, I wanted to thank you back from the WCW days and the times that you spent with me taking photos of you in the makeshift studios. That you were one of the guys. One of the few guys that was so cordial and willing to stand there forever, which you did sometimes. And I always appreciated that from you, and I wanted to tell you that face to face while I had you.
I never took that stuff for granted, Bill. You know, if somebody, you know, wants to take a picture of me to put it in their magazine, why would I ever say no?
No, don't do that.
Yeah, and a lot of guys would do that. I remember even in WCW, you know, I learned how to do promos. It was called The Box. You would go in the box and do localized promos. Poughkeepsie, we're coming to town this week, and Chris Jericho, you'll be facing Lenny Lane. What are you going to do? And this is a guy, me, that never had any promo time whatsoever. I used to hang out in the box to try and learn, watching Arn Anderson and Sting and Flair and whoever, just anybody. And then finally one day someone didn't show up. I think Luger wanted to go tanning and skipped his duties in the box. And they said, what about that kid? You in the corner. Come over here. Me?
Yeah.
Come do one promo. And I did one and it sucked. And then the next week they let me do two. And the next week they let me do three. And here I am learning from Mean Gene Okerlund and Lee Marshall, the guys that were such good interviewers. They could lead you through it. Even if I didn't know what to say, they would teach me how to do a promo. And that's where I learned how to do promos.
Is that right?
And I took advantage of all that stuff. Oh, Apter wants to take some pictures. Shit, where do I line up?
Where is
they
it?
want you in the box.
I wanted to thank you for that. So we're talking about old school promos, and before we do the major plug here, is there one opponent in this business, either past or present, that you have not wrestled against?
I get asked that quite a bit too, and it's funny because I've been wrestling for so long through all different generations. I have wrestled everybody that I ever wanted to wrestle that's still alive, except for I never wrestled Great Muta, and I never wrestled Bret Hart. So
stop right there, right there. I love to do this. Okay, 30 seconds. Okay, you ready? Chris Jericho, tonight it's going to be you against Bret the Hitman Hart at Madison Square Garden, the main event. Bret Hart, as you know, has the championship, and this is you. He said, "This is your only opportunity, Chris Jericho." So he's watching this tonight. So why don't you look out in the camera and tell Bret Hart why you're going to beat him tonight?
This is the thing, though, and this is the sign of a true professional. I can't just cut a promo right now because I'm not in Jericho mood. I got you. You got to get into it. You know what I mean? You got to be ready to go.
Of course.
Cut a promo that Bret Hart deserves to have cut on him. I could cut a doozy, but you got to be in.
Well, then we can do Lenny Lane.
And that's the thing too. People say, oh, you're acting. How long have you been acting? I've been acting for 24 years.
Yeah.
Every time I go through the curtain, I play a character of Chris Jericho. Sometimes it's a good guy, sometimes it's a bad guy, but you have to be in character, dropping into it, believing it, being it, to where you are it. If you can do that, you'll become a big superstar in the WWE or in wrestling or whatever you want to do. If you can't, it's just a fake thing. It's a fleeting thing. You're not going to be able to convince people that it's real.
It's living truthfully under imaginary circumstances.
Absolutely. It's playing a character. It's exactly what it is, Bill.
So where can people follow you on social media?
Yeah, man. At I Am Jericho is the Twitter, and that's and Facebook at Chris Jericho, and then everything else offshoots from that. I've got about 16 different things, but if you can find me on Twitter, you'll see all that.
Oh, hold on one sec, Chris. My earpiece just dropped out, and I can't hear you. Hold on.
Do you like my earpiece?
There we go. I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
Let me have my earpiece.
My earpiece, please. Is there anything you haven't done, not in pro wrestling? You are full service entertainment, so to say. You've done Dancing in the Stars. With the Stars, you have done musical shows. You've acted. Is there Fozzy, of course, going out on tour with them again soon?
Yeah, November 20th we start in Flint, Michigan. Yeah, I mean, the only, everyone that knows me is probably sick of hearing me saying this, but when I was a kid, I wanted to be in a rock and roll band and I wanted to be a wrestler. Those are my two goals. And I just made both those dreams come true, and probably the only person in history that can say they did that at the highest of levels. And everything else stems from that. My podcast, Talk is Jericho, writing the books, all the things that I do are just part of being in the entertainment world, because I've never considered myself a wrestler. I'm an entertainer, and that's what I do, and that's what I'll continue to do long after I've taken my last bump. I've worked on the Chris Jericho brand over the last 10 years, and I think my fans know that if I'm doing something, they can trust me and believe in it, that it's real, that I'll give 1,000% into it and make it good.
I want to back up on something you just said. Back when you started your career, if people said, "You're not a wrestler, that stuff is all fake, and you're just entertaining people," did you have that same mindset back then?
Yeah, well, because when I started, Bill, in 1990, that was still the land of the giants. Yeah. 6'8", 300 pounds. There was no 5'11" guys there, 200 pounds or whatever, 210 pounds. I knew I could never be the biggest guy in the show, but I always knew I could have the biggest character, the biggest charisma, the biggest personality. So I got it early on that wrestling is about that connection with the crowd in the show. Now, if anybody ever says fake to me to this day, I'll knock their block off, because there's nothing fake about anything we do. It's show business, right?
Yep.
But there's still a toll that you take. It's a live stunt show. We're out there, taking the bumps for real. And, whether you pull a punch or not, if you're falling off the top rope onto the mat 6 feet, that's not fake. So, but it is show business, 1,000%. And it's just as much of a show as being, as Johnny Depp playing the part of Jack Sparrow in Pirates of the Caribbean. It's not real. It's not real. He's playing a character. But when you watch the movie, you get into it and you love it, and you don't want anybody touching or interrupting you because I'm watching my movie. I got to see what happens.
Oh, yeah.
I
But
gotta
we,
know
could,
this
we
Jack
couldn't
Sparrow.
say that years ago. Years ago, there was always in the business, it was that taboo, that kayfabe. You don't let that out of the,
Yeah,
the,
well, I mean, like I said, I came in 1 foot in the old, 1 foot in the new.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And because I started basically in Mexico and Japan and all that stuff, I mean, obviously you wouldn't go out there trumpeting the fact that it was show business. But when someone said it to me, it never really bothered me. Like, okay, well, we know that it's show business. We pretty much, once Vince admitted to it in a court of law in 2000 or 1992 or whatever it was, pretty much the game was up at that point. It's like, well, he already said that it's not real as far as the outcomes. It's show business. And that was always what attracted me to the wrestling the most in the first place. Even when I was 8 years old watching with my grandma, was I loved the show business part of it, the characters.
All right. Chris, thank you so very much. And again, tell everybody the title of the book, where they can get the book.
It's called Chris Jericho, I Love My Life with Bill Apter.
Oh, you wrote that finally?
Yeah. And
Okay.
the other book is called The Best in the World at What I Have No Idea, and you can get it wherever you get books, which is basically Amazon and a few remaining Barnes and Nobles that are around in the country.
Is the chapter with you, me, and F and Barry in Reno, Nevada?
That would have been back in the first book, back in A Lion's Tale, but it didn't make the cut. It was in there, but it got edited out.
Darn it.
There was 50 chapters, and that was chapter 51. So
I had a feeling. I didn't make
almost.
it. Chris Jericho, thank you so very much. And if you wouldn't mind, we have everybody point their index finger at the camera, and we always sign off with, we'll see you at the matches.
Hold on, where's my finger?
Right
We'll
there.
see you and this really weird ET finger
That's
at the
cool.
matches.
At the matches. Thank you, Chris.